and welcome back to the Women's Strength Society show. Today with the topic, why your fat loss and building phases won't work until you do this.
And we just had our 30-day metabolic match experience.
Yes.
It was a cool challenge, cool experience for the ladies who are joining us. And it was very interesting because we have a fairly extensive onboarding process. And it was extremely interesting for me to see that a lot of the ladies have actually difficulties understanding where they are in the process and what they actually need. And this is a problem because if you don't know exactly where you are and what you need, then what you do after might or might not be what you need.
I think
right?
you gave me yesterday the analogy of body transformation being like going on holidays, but you can jump into the car, you can like drive around, but if you don't know like the route, where to go and what's the kind of destination where you want to go, and I don't mean the destination being the body that you want to build, like the end result that we are striving for to create, but more so those little like the little steps that you need to take in between the big transformation to actually get there, right? So we need to go through a fat loss phase and really lose body fat and lean out so that we can earn time away from dieting, so that we can then be in a proper building phase with quality weight gain to really build some shape. And I see that so often kind of we think it's just about like jumping into the car and driving around, which is tracking your food and hitting the gym and being very consistent with it, like being very consistent in like driving the car right around. But if
Never
you
stop driving.
Exactly, never
just keep moving forward.
Just forward, just like never stop. But it doesn't mean that it will lead to the end result that we are looking for to achieve.
100%. And this is even true if you go through a building phase or a fat loss phase, right? If you don't really know where you start and what you need, then it's going to be very difficult to get there. I actually love that analogy because I think it's
your analogy.
It's super
that's why
vivid.
You love
yeah,
it.
Maybe that's why I love it. But I really think that it represents exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And this is really what we see like across the board for most women who join us. It is super difficult to understand like where they are and what's actually needed. And so the way we help them do things better and then find the right destination and have a set route to go there is to have a proper assessment at the beginning of the process. And this
How
is something
does that work?
Yeah, this is something that pretty much nobody does, right? It's just like, hey, be consistent, go to the gym, apply progressive overload. If you want to be if you want to lose weight, then be in a calorie deficit. If you want to build muscle, be in a calorie surplus. But for someone who already has too much body fat, then and that person might want to build some muscles because she understands like, hey, muscles are great and it's going to help have a different shape and it's good for metabolic health and yada yada yada. Muscles are amazing. But for that person, then jumping straight into a building phase with a calorie surplus might not be the best thing. Likewise, some ladies want to lose body fat where it's actually absolutely counterproductive to do that because they're already fairly lean.
Yeah, 100%.
At times even like not too lean, but like looking defined. And then it's like, oh, I want to look a bit more defined here and there. Because when you are very lean, then you really see everything and it can get to your head. Yeah. And so you're like, hey, I actually need to lose body fat. And the truth is you absolutely don't. Like the thing that's going to give you more shape and more definition is actually more muscle. And so for that person going into a fat loss phase is going to be counterproductive. So we do that assessment and that should be actually fairly simple, but at the same time very much on point. And the way we do that is first we have an intake form where we are going to ask different questions about lifestyle, about eating habits, about stress and sleep, because sleep is very important, about strength numbers, because your strength level correlates fairly strongly with the amount of muscle mass that you have.
Oh, and I have so many women, they don't know their strength numbers. So this is like, for me as a coach, definitely like, okay, yeah, you don't know your like 5 rep max. And I mean, it's not that you have to test it specifically, right? And if you haven't done the 5 rep max test, then you cannot answer the question. But you should be able to roughly estimate if you can move for 10 reps or 8 reps a certain amount of weight, then you should roughly know how that would translate into a 5 rep max, right? And so this is something we would ask in the intake form. I think during the challenge you asked for the 10 rep max.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we're asking for the 10 rep max, but I also have for the one-on-one clients the 5 rep max.
And it's not that one is better than the other. The point is
No.
really just to understand like where, like how much strength you have right now.
But I think it's important to understand. Sometimes we think if someone asks me for like your 5 rep max, then we're like, oh no, I haven't tested it. I don't know. I'm not a power lifter. I'm not doing a 5 rep max test. Right? But it's not that. You can also take your 10 rep max and then calculate it into a 5 rep max.
That's absolutely true, and the point is really just to get a baseline. So it's understanding, going back to the analogy of the traveling to a holidays, is simply to understand like where are you right now. Because if you just say, hey, I want to fly to Miami, it's not going to be the same journey if you are starting from New York or from Los Angeles or from Frankfurt or from Berlin. And if you don't know like your strength level, then you don't really know where you are. And the first thing to do is actually test that out. And it doesn't matter if it's a 5 rep max or if it's a 10 rep max or even like a 15 rep max or 1 rep max. It's really just like how much weight can I move for a given number of reps, point blank. And do that for like a few different exercises, the one that you like most or where you think like, hey, this is going to translate into building some muscles in that area. So for example, I love to use the leg extension because it's very difficult to cheat that movement, to do something like wildly wrong on that movement. And it's going to give a very good very good impression of your quad muscles. That's fairly simple to do. Lunges are great, or split squat are great because it's really going to say something about like your glutes and your quads as well. RDLs is awesome. It's going to be the whole posterior chain, and you will see like if the weight that you can move for 10 reps is not close to your own body weight, then you already know like, hey, you don't have a lot of muscle.
I think this is the point where when women start to work with us, it's kind of the aha moment, right? So they're filling that out and then they get a little bit of like more education on what is actually needed, like how does strength correlate with muscle mass? What does it mean to have a certain number, like level of strength for like the shape that you have and the muscles that you have. And especially the lower body lifts are most of the time like beginner level. And I'm not like super crazy strong, but I was still able to like deadlift more than 100 kg and squat more than 80 kg, and I'm not like super heavy. Like my body weight is 55 kg right now, and so I think it's important to see that kind of like black on white. And it's sometimes hard because once you see that and once you have those numbers and it's very like this is it, then you also know it's going to be a journey, right?
And that's very good. And I think this is what we also need to talk about. Like when you started at the beginning of your journey, you were not there with those numbers that you just talked about. And you were not able to do, when we met, you were not able to do any chin-ups
No.
unassisted.
I was not able to hold a plank for 30 seconds.
That was even before we met, right? But when we met, you were already training for a few years, fairly consistently, and you could also do some RDLs, I think, with 70 kilos, so that's 155 pounds. And the thing though was your form was not that great. It was a lot of back that was working. You had like crazy developed erector spinae, but back muscles, so the lower back muscles, which is great. It's like now I think it's pretty trendy on Instagram, like, oh, you want to have the deep line muscles. The deep back lines, whatever is the trendy
the trendy word.
The trendy word. But the point is, when we started working together, you were not that strong, and then over a matter of a few years, you were able to bang out. Now you can bang out like 10 chin-ups unassisted. You actually do them with added weight. You hit like 80 kilo squats for, I don't recall, maybe it was 5 reps, maybe it was 2, but that would be
I think it was 82.
82. Sorry. So 178 pounds. So that would be roughly 1.5 times your body weight. Then for your deadlift, you definitely deadlifted twice your body weight for 1 rep. But this gives kind of a direction of what happened, and it was not always the case. Even when you started working with Hattie, you were doing squats with 55 kilo, so that was 121 pounds. And so the point that I'm trying to make is really like, you started at a certain level, and then it took a few years to get to that level of strength that also translated into having more muscle, and then creating a different shape for your body.
Yeah, and I think the point that we are trying to make with all the women that we work with is that they get hungry for that performance in the gym, because some of them have even trained before working with us for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Like, I have one client, she started in the late 90s. I mean, I was not even a teenager back then. That means she's training over 25 years. And she has worked with coaches before, did bodybuilding competitions, all of that, but has still not the level of strength, and therefore not the physique changes that she's looking for to achieve, especially in her lower body, because there was nobody telling her like, these are the numbers and this is how you need to train. This is how you need to correct your form so that you can target the right muscles. And this is how you progress and pick the right load so that you're progressing in a good pace, right? Otherwise, you're spending 25 fucking years in the gym, which is great, right? It's great to move your body, but when we're talking about achieving very, very specific body transformation goals, then we need to be very specific. And that's why we're so huge on data and looking at the numbers and being very, let's say, rational in the process to some extent. I mean, this whole journey is very personal and very emotional, transforming your body. But we also need to put on the scientist hat and look more at the data points to really understand where are you right now, and what is actually missing to get you where you want to be, because only then we can make a plan of how to achieve that. Otherwise, it's this constant, and I see that with also so many coaches and like personal trainers, online coaches, whatever, telling their clients, yeah, just be in a calorie deficit, or you want to lose weight, yeah, just do that, or yeah, just eat more, or just trust the process, or you just need to be patient. And yes, trusting the process at some point is also part of the game, because we need to have a little bit of patience in the process. But we also want to see in very regular, how do you say, terms? No, irregular time frames, that we're on the right track. Why are you laughing?
Because I think I know what you want to say in German, but I can't find the word in English.
Yeah, right. It's
Abstände?
missing. Abstände.
Yeah.
Increments.
Um,
Increments? Whatever. You want to have in the process, you want to have the overview of, am I moving in the right direction? And not just, do I feel like I'm moving in the right direction, but am I really moving in the right direction? Objectively, because I've also heard so many women telling me, yeah, I think I've built muscle mass. I'm like, did you build muscle mass? Like,
did you get stronger?
Did you get stronger? Like, what did happen? Like, what was your rate of gain, for example? Like, did you track all of those numbers to make sure that you're actually building quality weight and not just like adding body mass, which is mainly body fat? So we need to make those things sure.
Yeah, and going back to what we were saying at the very beginning, it's not possible to do that, to understand, like, have I gained weight? What was the rate of gain? Have I gained strength? If you don't have a starting point. So the very first thing you want to do is just to establish the status quo. Like, what is my strength level in terms of food? It's going to be like, what's my caloric intake? How much carbs, protein, and fat am I eating? And there are a lot of ladies who join us who are like, hey, I'm doing all the things, I'm eating high protein, but then you go through the intake form and you see like they don't know how much carbohydrate they are eating, how much fat they are eating. And it's like, yeah, that's a problem, because you might be eating more or less than what you actually need.
Oh, like when I did low carb and keto.
Yeah, for example.
Right? So I was doing low carb, I was doing keto, but I was like crazy overeating on fats, like crazy. And that was the reason why I blew up. I was just like Michelin little, I was looking like this. I need to find a picture probably. I will have somewhere a picture of that. I don't have a lot of pictures from that time because I was very, very uncomfortable in my skin, obviously. I was my heaviest, like 22 pound heavier than I am today, which is a lot at my height.
And you were weaker than you are now, right? And so this is also something that we sometimes hear. So, hey, I know that I have a lot of muscle under the layer of fat, and it's like do you?
Do you really?
Do you really? And if you don't know what your strength number are, then most likely you actually do not have that many muscles, because, and this is something that we just like constantly have to argue about, but your muscle are going to contract against the resistance that is the weight. And if you can produce a lot of force with your muscle, then you are going to be able to move more weight. That's very simple. And we know that there is a very strong correlation between the so-called cross-sectional area of your muscle and the force production that you have. So cross-sectional area is, let's say you want to know how strong your quad is, you cut the quad in half, and then you are going to see when you cut it, not in a longitudinal way, but in the middle, cross-sectional, then you are going to see like how many muscle fibers do you actually have. And the more muscle fibers you have, the more force you are going to be able to produce. And if you can produce more force, then you are able to move more weight, period. Like in the vast majority of cases, it's just going to happen. And this is why we are so big on tracking the strength number in the gym, because if you start and let's say you go to the leg press and with your best effort, you push as hard as you can for 10 reps, you can move 200 pounds. And then you spend 6 months like applying the same kind of effort. And after 6 months for 10 reps with the exact same amount of effort, the exact same form, you can now move 300 pounds. then something happened in your body. And if you repeat that process and 6 months later you can now move 370 pounds, then you know that something happened in your body. And if you just keep adding to that, then you know that you are actually building some muscle and changing the structure of your body.
Okay, so what's then the takeaway for a lovely listener? So strength numbers, super important. You need to know your numbers. Girl, you need to know your numbers.
And you don't have to ideally you want to track, you have a simple way to track like every movement so that you know that you are actually progressing, but pick a few exercises, a few movements that you really like that are going to be your KPIs. Usually doing something like RDLs, lat pull downs, shoulder press, and some knee dominant movements. So it could be a leg press, it could be a squat. We like to use the squat.
Great.
Use those and take the next 2 weeks to test it out in the gym. And you just go there and it's like, hey, how much weight can I actually move for a given number of reps? If you prefer to do it with a bit more reps, like 12, then do 12. If you're like, hey, I want to move heavier weight and do less reps because 12 is just like cardio, then you do 6 reps and you try to find out like, okay, how much weight can I actually move for 6 reps? Do that. At the same time, what you want to do for your nutrition is to very accurately track what you're eating. This was actually an assignment when I did my certification as a coach. It was one of the first things that we had to do for the nutrition. It was just like, hey, the next 5 days you are going to track every single thing that you like, every bite that you are going to eat. If you drink calories, then of course you also have to track them. And you want to find out like how many calories are you consuming, how much protein, how much carb, how much fat. And yes, you want to track all 3 of them because it's going to have an impact on your performance and your recovery and your digestion and your energy and your sleep and your mood.
And your metabolism.
And potentially even on your menstrual cycle. So do track all 3 of them. Bonus point, if you can also track the amount of fibers that you get every day. And then this is kind of your status quo. Like this is the basic. If you want to track the number of hours that you sleep and the number of steps that you do every day, that would be amazing too. And of course, because you want to work on body composition, then daily weigh-in first thing in the morning should be a non-negotiable. If you have that, you have already like a fairly good assessment, and you actually know whether you are in New York, in LA, in Frankfurt, in Durban, South Africa. I don't know.
Yeah, I find it so interesting because every time I have I'm onboarding a new client, right? And I'm going through all of these data points and kind of connecting the dots. Then for me, and then also using the current progress pictures, right? For me, it's super easy. I'm looking at those things and I'm like, yeah, for you, like the next 2 years, they need to look like this, right? I can break down how much you need to probably lose for your height to be in a good place when it comes to like leanness, but then also how long should we focus on like doing that? How long is going the reverse to take for you? I can most of the time even say like if it's more a shorter reverse or a longer reverse diet, if this person can then go into a lean build phase, or if it's better to do a maintenance phase for some time and then even go into another fat loss phase before even thinking about a lean build. So all those things are so clear to me when I'm doing the assessment with these ladies. And what I hear the most often is when I then talk to them and I'm like, hey, this is the plan. This is what we need to do to get you from point A, where you're currently at and that you don't like, to point B, which is like your absolute dream. Then they always tell me like it feels like relief.
Mm-hmm.
it's like they have this like heavy weight on their shoulders, like every day thinking about like not feeling great in your body, not feeling comfortable in your own skin, jeans not fitting, not wanting to wear like tank tops where you can see the arms, not going to the beach, whatever it is. And finally having a plan, although they're doing all the work and everything, they've tried everything. And finally, they have the transformation roadmap to actually get to where they want to go. And this is kind of the first big rock that we need to move, and that where we kind of need to break through so that we can then start the process, which is a topic for another day.
Yeah, I think it is pretty stressful, because it's really I really love that analogy, but it's like you think you are in New York and you want to go to Miami, and you are actually in Detroit, and what you do is just constantly driving back and forth between Detroit and Chicago. And then you're like, why am I not even going south and seeing some sun and some oranges and maybe some alligators? What's happening to me? Why is it not working? I'm just like constantly, my hands are on the driving wheel, my foot is on the gas pedal. I'm doing what they say I should be doing.
Yeah.
I'm in the car. I'm driving very consistently, and the only thing that I see is the Great Lakes, and it's cold and I'm freezing.
And you're like,
where are
this
the
is-
alligators?
this is what they told me I need to do to transform my body.
Yeah, and it sucks.
Yeah, it really
Like,
sucks.
it's not fun. I think it's really stressful. So the first step is really to understand, like, you're not in New York, you are actually in Detroit, and then the way to go to Miami is going to be a very different one than the one you are currently on. And it's not going to be only about consistently having your hands on the driving wheel and your foot on the gas pedal. Like, yes, this is needed, because otherwise you are not driving, and then thus you are not moving, which like everybody understands. But then this is like, where are you driving to, and where from? If you don't have that, then it's going to be difficult. So yeah, understanding where you are, doing that kind of assessment, having those objective numbers is going to be like a total game changer, and enable you to then move forward. Without that, you're basically blind. So
100%. Amen to that. And if you want to learn more about like how to work with us, if you even want to start on this body transformation journey with a proper transformation roadmap, then the first place to be is the Strong Babes Club.
100%.
Until next time, bye bye.